Hey guys, this is Grandmaster Eugene Perelshteyn for iChess.net, and today I want to share with you Karpov's greatest positional sacrifice. Now, what do I mean by positional sacrifice? Typically, whenever you see sacrifices, it's you sacrifice maybe a queen and then you make your opponent the next move or the next few moves. Well, that's more of an attack-end sacrifice. Now, sometimes you sacrifice to gain material back. Well, that kind of makes sense. But deep sacrifices, like you will see now, are really intuitive sacrifices. You're not gonna quite sure how you're gonna win the game, material or tactics, but you definitely know that you will have the initiative. So in this position that you see in front of you, this is the famous game, Karpov White against Vasily Topalov from 1994 Linares tournament. I should mention that the field at this tournament is one of the strongest ever, and Kasparov called it whoever wins this tournament can be the world champion of tournament chess. And I'm pretty sure he were to regret saying that because Karpov, who is an older player, went on a rampage with 11 out of 13. That's +9 against world's best players. Unbelievable performance. He started with 6 wins, and he was just having a tournament of his life. So here Karpov executes in a kind of quiet-looking position an unbelievable rook sacrifice. You guys might have seen it before. The move is rook takes e6, double axe clamp. Wow. Do we know that white's going to win after that? No, we can see that after f takes g, queen takes e6 check, king goes for a little walk, but white's rook on a1, the knight on c3, and the bishop on g2 are not as coordinated yet to checkmate the king. But Karpov knows best. After rook a7, Topalov is not quite ready to take the rook. So let's see what happens if he does take the rook. Well, now, simple. Bishop takes e6, rook a7, queen takes check, and white's getting tons of compensation. So this is kind of similar, you will see, to the game, except Topalov wanted to throw in the tempo on the queen. So let's go back here with the move rook a7. So the queen has to move, right? There's no way around it. So yet, rook takes g6. Karpov insists, please take my rook. Right? This kind of tactic is called Desperado Tactic. Well, Topalov says, all right, you talked me into it. Now check on e6, because queen is under attack. King g7. So I'm sure both players saw this position, and Topalov said, well, there's no checkmate in sight. Right? He cannot really checkmate me. And Karpov realized that this is a positional sacrifice. I'm not going to checkmate him just yet. I will continue my attack. Keep in mind that we already got 2 points for the rook. This knight is really under attack. But Karpov says, Karpov says bishop takes e6. I already got the knight and 2 points for the rook. So that's a pretty good compensation, right, guys? And Topalov here plays rook d8. So the idea here is to activate the rook and probably to play queen d6 going for the endgame. So the key here is that white should not take the foot of the gas pedal here. White should really try to continue the attack, and Karpov plays c takes b, trying to basically say, you know what, I'm just going to take a couple pawns and then continue my attack. So here black has a bunch of choices. In the game, Topalov played bishop to f6, which kind of makes sense. He's looking for activity. But let's see what happens if queen d6. This is kind of the main idea. Now Karpov simply drops back. Queen e3, and you realize that after a takes b, if black plays here, the problem here is that knight takes b5 is a fork. And that's kind of the downfall for black, because after queen takes, knight takes, let's say queen b7, it looks as though knight is trapped, but in reality, after move knight c6, we invite him to take, and then we take the bishop and the rook, game over. So these kind of little tactics Karpov was really good at. So let's go back. So queen d6, the logical move, doesn't work because of queen e3. Well, you may wonder, what if I just take the pawn back? In that case, the knight is involved in the game, and you can see that white has full compensation. So this is the kind of deep positional sacrifice that Karpov anticipated. He was going to win the knight on c6, and even though he's down in exchange, he's got a bunch of pawns for it, especially 3 pawns. The rook's under attack, the king is still vulnerable, white is much better. So let's go back to the game. So Topalov plays bishop f6, logical move. So now the idea is to enter the game with rook e7, hitting the queen. Karpov simply plays knight e4. The attack continues. Now, taking the pawn on b2 looks really dangerous. Let's see what happens. Rook b1, tempo move on the bishop. Bishop here, and b6. That b pawn is really annoying. Rook f7, knight g5, exclam. And you see that things are just not looking so good for black. And if you move the rook, there's really hardly any squares left where it's safe. If you move the rook here, then you allow the queen to come in, and position is just terrible. So let's go back. So Topalov, I think, played the best practical move, bishop d4. The bishop is really strong on d4, putting pressure on these pawns. And here Karpov plays a very strong move. Pawn takes a6. Remember, guys, you already have material back. You won the knight. At this point, you're just trying to kind of simplify while keeping your options open. So already all of these pieces are perfectly placed. Karpov is not sure where the rook belongs yet, but he definitely wants to snack on another pawn. So Topalov plays queen b6. Here, black had a bunch of options. What happens if he takes the pawn? Well, in this case, the 7th rank is really weak. Queen e7 check, king h8, knight g5. And I don't see any easy defense against the mate. So you probably have to play rook a7 to stop it. And now another brilliant move, knight f7 check, king g7, queen takes d8, and black loses material. So that's what happens. Let's go back if you try to do that. So that's what happens if you take the rook. In the game, Topalov played queen b6, but he can also take the b pawn, and the a1 rook is under attack. So what do we do? Simple chess. Get the rook out of danger, and white has absolutely amazing position. We're not even down material here. Very important to kind of keep in mind that after bishop takes f2, discovered check. This is a check, discovered attack on the rook. The knight can come back and defend the rook on d1. So none of these tactics are really worrisome. So Topalov plays queen b6. So here Karpov is in his element, simply improving moves. Rook to d1. All right, black says, I'm going to take the pawn with queen takes a6. And now rook takes d4, another spectacular sacrifice. Again, in the same kind of theme as we saw earlier. Karpov sacrificed the rook for the pawn. Now he sacrificed the rook for the bishop to get to the enemy king. The bishop was very powerful in d4, and by sacrificing the rook for it, the king is a little bit more exposed. So we see two very deep positional sacrifices by Karpov. Absolutely amazing chess. So here black took with the rook. Now what happens if the pawn takes? Well, I think same problems as in the game. Queen f6 check. Remember, the bishop was guarding that square, and now situation is just not looking very good. Very similar to the game. So let's see what happened in the game. After rook takes d4, check. Now black has 3 possible king moves. King g8, king h7, king h6. King g8 is what happened in the game, but honestly, all of these moves lead to losing possession for black. So first, let's take a look at king h7. That looks like an obvious move. The problem with that move is knight g5. Tempo. This little tempo on the king really enables white to keep the attack going. King g8, queen takes pawn. The king is completely naked. King here, queen e8 check. You already see where the game is heading. King here, another check. And now we're simply going to win the game after knight takes d4 and queen check, rook f7, queen check again, king here, another check. Well, I think we can stop here. The bishop and 5 extra pawns is more than enough to win the game. So let's get back to the position. So you see, things are not so easy. Where do you put the king? Well, if king h6, this is probably the simplest of all the wins. f5, extremely easy. You just go after the king, and all of these pieces are completely useless. If check, king h2, no more checks left, and the game is over. If rook g7, I think everybody can see the mate at this moment. So quickly, mate in one. Yep, queen h4, check, mate. So not so difficult. All right, so let's get back to the game. So going back to this critical moment, king g8. Well, the rest is kind of easy. We just keep picking up more material. Queen g6 check. Topalov played king f8. Another check. And you kind of already see the pattern here, right? We keep checking, winning more material. And now queen e5, centralization, another check. King g8 and knight f6. At this moment, Karpov wasn't quite happy simply winning the pawn. He really wanted to keep attacking. I like knight f6 a lot. So king f7, bishop e8 check, and now the naked king is in the maiden net. If you divide the board into the king side and the queen side, you guys probably realize what's going on here. 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 attacking pieces on the king side. Where is all the defenses? All the defenses are over here. The rook, the queen, and the rook. Totally misplaced. Let's keep going. King f8, what was played in the game. Let's take a look what happens after king g7. Very natural attacking moves. Knight d7 check, discover check from the queen, keep in mind. King here, check, driving the king into the corner, and check again, check. Really, the king has nowhere to run. Another check. You probably already see where this game is heading. Check. In order to avoid mate, black has to sack the queen. Extremely easy win at this point. So going back to the game, let's go back to the critical moment here. So after the move bishop to e8. So obviously king g7 walking into discovered check is no good. Topalov plays the move king to f8. And as I mentioned earlier, when you have so many pieces attacking the enemy king, they're bound to be a win. So Karpov plays pretty simple chess at this moment. Queen takes c5 check. Already he's down 2 exchanges, but with 5 pawns for them, materially he's not worse. Trust me here. So queen d6. What about rook d6? Well, in that case, simple chess usually prevails. Simply knight e4. You give up the bishop, you win the rook, the game is over. So let's go back here. And queen d6 was played by Topalov. Now, the idea here is that if queen takes d6, rook takes d6, black can at least try to salvage the game by trying to win either the bishop or the knight. So Karpov simply takes the rook. He's not, greedy. He simply realized that simplification is the way to go. The knight is going to get lost, and at the end of the day, the bishop for the rook with 5 extra pawns. And keep in mind, the king is completely naked. So bishop h5, rook d2, trying to win the b pawn. Karpov says, I'm not even going to give you that little guy. Rook b2, king g2, and I think Topalov made the right decision to resign. Well, a lot of you may still play on here if you were black, just trying to see how white can win this, but the plan is extremely easy. You're going to get one of these pawns rolling, either the f pawn or the g pawn, or the a pawn, and white can keep the maiden net, kind of queen f7, constantly present, or white can actually trade queens and simplify. Wow, what a remarkable game by a former world champion. So now let us go back and try to understand what his thinking was like when he executed all of these ideas. So going back all the way to the beginning. So right here, let's go back more. And this is the starting position. So again, this looks like a quiet position. Maybe Topalov expected c takes b5 or rook a d1, just kind of little by little improving his position. By the way, there's a little trap of bishop c6, rook a7. This is what Topalov actually anticipated as well. Karpov didn't fall for it. Now the queen cannot protect the bishop. So the whole positional sacrifice started with a spectacular move, rook takes e6. You simply give up the rook for the pawn. Topalov thought, well, I'm going to be clever with the move rook a7. When the queen retreats, I'm going to take the rook and be pretty happy. And another amazing sacrifice, rook takes g6. And obviously this theme in chess is known as the Desperado, when you try to actively sack a piece. And now, after Topalov commits, check, and Karpov took the knight. So that was the first major point. Keep in mind, we got two pieces, two pawns, and the knight for the rook. So materially, not so bad. And then the next big sacrifice came up. So let's play this out. So black is trying to put the best defenses. This is the right plan. This is very solid bishop on d4. White goes here, rook d1, queen a6. And here again, Karpov shines. He's really pinned up. The bishop can't move, queen has no checks, the bishop's guarding f6 square, knight doesn't have much to play yet. And another sacrifice, brilliant move, rook takes d4. So the theme here is positional sacrifices to open up the enemy king, and eventually, materially, you will win some pawns and be not even worse. And the attack simply continued with a bunch of checks. You won another pawn, and then eventually the c pawn. And at this point, if you just count the material, white is not worse. Even though he's two exchanges down, he's actually not worse because of the 5 extra pawns. So the key here from this game is look for very unusual moves. If you don't see a forced win, then at least ask yourself these questions. Does my attack continue? Is the enemy king weakened? Do I get initiative? If the answer is yes for all of these questions, then without doubt, the sacrifice must be correct. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and more exciting videos coming up in the future. Thank you very much. This was Grandmaster Eugene Perelshteyn for iChess.net. Goodbye.